Hi guys, welcome back for the third instalment of my Pretty Kitty and Bella and Friends card making class. For this final one, I've got a relatively easy card to put together, no watercolouring. So this is the card that I've put together for Bella and Friends using this little pup with the bone and thank you from the bottom of my heart. This beach landscape picture is from the Serene Scenery little paper stack that we've got that's just come out in the new catalogue. It's got a bunch of really pretty designs in there. So definitely jump on that. They work great as backgrounds. There's a whole bunch of different colours in there. Crumb Cake, Bermuda Bay, Delightful Dijon, Island Indigo, Old Olive, Pool Party and Whisper White. And there's some really nice ones. That's the one that we're using today, the beach theme. So what I've done is I've cut off this top bit. We're just using the bottom half. And I've trimmed the edge a little bit to fit better as well. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with those offcuts in the Kitty and Pretty Kitty card. We're not going to waste any of this beautiful paper. But there's some really lovely pictures in there. So definitely jump on it for 14 bucks. This is an absolute bargain. What do you get? 48 sheets of 6x6. So there's 4 in each design and they're all double-sided. Okay, so this set of cards we're using the Crumb Cake, which the inks that I recommended or suggested for these 3 lots of cards were the Smoky Slate, Crumb Cake and the Archival Black. So far we've used the Smoky Slate and the Archival Black a fair bit. So I thought this last set we better concentrate on the Crumb Cake, which is actually a really lovely colour and I do actually use this one a lot. So I've stamped the pup onto Whisper White and cut it out with scissors. You'll find the Stampin' Up little paper snips are really good because they're very small and the tip of them is tiny, so you can get right into those little corners. And then I've stuck him up on dimensionals. I've cut a dimensional in half to fit behind his tail, and then I've put 2 more. And this is using the decorative label punch. And then I've sponged around the outside, and I've put some threads that I've pulled out of the burlap ribbon underneath there. And that's up on dimensionals as well. So the Pretty Kitty will have a similar sort of theme. We'll use the offcuts and we'll do the Crumb Cake and the same sort of label with the string burlap threads sticking out behind it. But it'll be on a Wisteria Wonder base, so look a little bit different. So here's my base, A4 cut in half and scored down the middle, and then I've got this is what the excess looks like, cut off the top from the beach theme that we used on the other card. So what I've done with this piece is I've trimmed it to 5 centimeters wide, and I did try to cut it by hand, but I bodged it up, so that's alright, we'll fix it up. We've got the triple banner punch here, and 5 centimeters is the widest fit on there. So just slide your piece of paper in at 5 centimeters, and if you flip it over, there we go, you can actually see, I might do the blue side so you guys can see it a bit easier. You can see the papers come through and you can see what an odd job I've done on my cutting previously. So just make sure that that's lined up with the edges here on this side, and then you can see that it's even on each side here as well. And they're nice and straight. And then we cut that off. And that's a much looking better, a much better looking banner than what we had before, isn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use the spotty side for this one. We don't want all of our cards looking exactly the same, do we? So I'm going to off-center that one a little bit. I'll just put some, get rid of these stamp sets and get my glue. You can use the blue side if you want. It'll look just as nice. But I thought the spots would be something different. So I'm going to try and, sorry, I'll move into a space where you guys can see. I'm going to try and line this up so that it's so I've got the same space, top and side. Alright, now I've also got these little bits left over from, I had to cut a centimetre off the side of here so that it would fit onto the card, be the same width as the cardstock or a little bit shorter than the cardstock. So I've got these little bits and I thought they're really pretty as well. I don't want to waste those. So we'll get this one first. This is a little bit of the paper doilies. So these are the new Whisper White, delicate white doilies. And they're a little bit smaller than the vanilla doilies that we had in last year's catalogue. But a slightly different pattern, really pretty. And you know, if you just trim off the bottom like that, it's quite nice. Excuse my fingers digging in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a bit of glue over the top. And I'm actually just using the Tombow glue. And then I'm using the other side, the bottom broad tip. So I squirted some on and then I've used the broad tip just to and now I've stuck it to my workbench. That's good. Alright, let's start again. Don't you love all of the mistakes that you do while you're recording? But that's alright. Okay, so let's try a slightly different technique this time, maybe not so much glue. And how much of this did I cut off? So what I'm going to do, just to make sure that I get a nice straight part, is I'm trying to match up the patterns and then I'm folding it in half. And folding it in half again. There we go. Alright, so now I've got a little line I can trim along. You have to be careful because they are really delicate. Alright, so how's about this time? What I might do, in view of the camera, is I'll put some glue along here. And I'm going to stick the doily down. Now I've done that a little bit off centre. Let's see. That still looks okay. Alright. So then we'll stick it on here. Straighten it up a little bit. Okay. So that actually looks quite nice there because it's all loose and pretty. So that'll curl up a little bit and just add a little bit of texture to the card, which is lovely and exactly how I planned it to be. Alright. So next we want, now I'm going to use from the Pretty Kitties, I'm going to use both of these kittens, and A Friend Like You Comes Along Once in 9 Lives. So I've actually already pre-stamped and pre-cut these two little kitties out. So I'm going to go ahead and stick some dimensionals behind them, because sometimes the fussy cutting can take a little while. So there's one little kitty. And there's my other little kitty. And they're just best of friends. Aren't they cute? Look how cute they are together. Alright. Now, I have also pre-stamped the sentiment, because, you know, I almost made this card just off camera without even thinking about turning the camera on. So I've just put this on some scrap, and I'm going to use my decorative label punch. And if you hold it upside down, you can line it up really well. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of my daubers, and this, I have one for each colour. I mean, I don't have all the colours yet, but, you know, I only use them for one particular colour once I've opened them. So here's my crumb cake here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap it twice. You have to really be careful if your ink pad is quite, you know, a bit moist, a bit juicy. It'll actually throw out a fair bit of ink and make this quite dark when you do it with the dauber or with a sponge. So, you know, if you only dab it in once or twice and then go around, you can always add more, but it's very hard to take off or make less. So I wanted this to sort of have a little bit of an aged look to it. So I'm now just very, very softly going around the edges of this one. There we go. So that's got a very nice little bit of shading just around the edge of it now. Might just do a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pop that little sentiment, I'll do it, see if I can do it upside down for you guys. So I'm going to pop this little sentiment just up here in the corner. Okay, but first we're going to add some burlap. So I've got some burlap ribbon here that I've trimmed, and I'm just going to pull a couple of the threads out of the middle of it. And I think 3 should be plenty. I like working in odd numbers. I think it works better than the even numbers. I always feel like it looks odd when there's even numbers. Is that strange? So you can see this is about 3 inches long. I'll just pop my dauber away. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'll just put that aside for a second. So I've lined them up so that they're pretty even. And now I'm just going to get a little bit of sticky tape off my roll. And then I'm going to stick it just on here. Now, you want the strings to be relatively straight. Oops. And it is difficult because, you know, the string wants to wobble around and the other bits want to move. Alright, so when you stick it on, just be careful that you don't want any of your sticky tape showing it out the edges. So just, if it's cut a bit off like me, a bit too much, then just fold it over itself so it doesn't stick out the sides. And then I'm going to use 4 little dimensionals. Okay, and bear with me 1 second while I stick this on. I think I'm just going to do it right there. I like that the string sort of sticks out over the edge a little bit. I think that adds just a little bit extra to it. So now if you find that one of your strings is a little bit long or a little bit short, you can pull them through a little bit. There is a little bit of give there because they're so fluffy they don't stick to the sellotape really, really well. But don't pull on them too hard. You don't want to accidentally pull it out. So anyway, that is my final installment of cards using the Pretty Kitty kit, the Pretty Kitty card set, Pretty Kitty stamp set, jeez, and Bella and Friends, these 2 beautiful little stamp sets here, and I have really enjoyed the last couple of days working with these stamp sets. It has been a ton of fun. So I hope you jump on board and get hold of some of them for yourselves. I do also have coming up my next video will be using this Love You Lots Hostess stamp set, which I give away as a freebie once you've done 3 of my classes. So I'll be gradually working on all of the Hostess sets as we go through the year and people mark off their classes, but we're going to start with this Love You Lots one because I just think it's absolutely adorable. I love this elephant. So they're my next set of videos to come. I hope that you have all enjoyed my Pretty Kitty and Bella and Friends cards. I hope you get lots of ideas, and I'd love for you to come back to me and tell me what you've done and you know, other things that you've come up with using this set, because they're just so much fun. I think you can really do a lot with them. But that's it for now. enjoy the rest of your day and I'll talk to you all soon.